Silent Hill 2 Remake is an amazing game in a lot of ways, like the plot, the environment, the facial animations, the voice acting, and the cinematics. But what makes this game truly a masterpiece are its symbolisms. The game is full of symbolic interpretations which tell us a lot about the universe in which the game takes place in, as well as about our real world too. But there was one symbolic interpretation which totally stands out from the rest. It was so well presented by the developers that I have never been so proud to say that I like video games. Ever before I came across this game and witnessed this magnificent illustration. And this is exactly why I decided to make a dedicated video on this topic. So let's start now. There's a character in this game whose name is Angela Orosco, an innocent young woman who led an unfortunate life which was full of tragedies. But her life reveals a lot of harsh realities about being a woman in this world, and that how their own fathers can pose a threat to them, which can completely destroy their lives. So, without wasting any time, let's dive deep into the story of Angela Orosco. But before that, I would like to give a trigger warning. Angela was born and grew up in a poor and toxic family. Because of her violent, abusive and traumatic childhood, Angela was convinced that she would never truly find happiness in life after being forced to lose her innocence as a child and grow up too fast. Her father, Thomas Orosco, an aggressive alcoholic lumberjack, sexually and physically abused her while inebriated throughout her life. This caused her to harbor much contempt towards men. In addition, Angela's brother would also abuse her incestuously, only adding to her trauma. Meanwhile, Angela's mother frequently reminded her that she deserved her abuse, and as a result, Angela endured it as she grew up. Although Angela's mother knew what was happening, she never intervened. It seems that Angela never told anyone outside her family about her sexual and physical abuse, possibly out of fear that her father will retaliate against her. Embarrassment and her not knowing anybody she can talk to. At an unknown point in the time, Angela's mother eventually left her family, leaving Angela alone with her father and brother, with her fate ambiguous and unknown. It is also unknown if Angela's mother is even alive during Silent Hill 2. It is possible that she left her family to go kill herself and hid her suicide from Angela and her brother to ease the burden. Later, according to the novelization, Angela found a job as a waitress at a restaurant, a tiresome and boring job she absolutely despised due to the pathetically low minimum wage income. Her distaste of the nauseating smell of cooking meat and the perverted male customers always trying to touch her body, repeatedly triggering events of previous abuse. Eventually, through a massive combination of traumatic experiences, boring, exhausting, dead and slave-like job, mental health issues, as well as her failure to achieve any form of release from her torment, Angela became suicidal as it was too much for her to bear. According to the novelization, Angela visited a doctor at a hospital and all he did was prescribe drugs, but they did not work and the side effects of which were torturous on her. Angela felt that this doctor did not understand her. This was further explained in Donna Burke's song No One Can Save Me, whereas the lyrics No One Can Understand This Pain I'm In is referring to how most people do not understand Angela's burdened feelings and sufferings. After Angela graduated high school, she ran away from home but was found and dragged back by her father. It is unknown how old Angela was when she tried to leave home, since Angela presumably lived in Maine. If Angela was 18 or older, it would have been illegal for Thomas to bring Angela home. It is unknown if Thomas and or Angela's brother continued raping Angela after taking her back. Regardless, at the Orosco's residence around midnight, Angela was enraged at him and took a kitchen knife, stabbing her father in the neck out of anger, slitting his throat, then in the torso multiple times. There is evidence of a struggle in the room, implying that Thomas fought for his life but was overwhelmed by Angela. She did not bother to take her family's cash or hide her father's corpse and fled the house. According to the novelization, Angela also took care of her brother, but it does not go into detail. Being in a state of emotional turmoil afterwards due to being the target of a murder investigation with no one to turn to and nowhere else to go, Angela was called to Silent Hill in order to try to find her missing mother, her final hope. It is never known if Angela's mother may lived or died in Silent Hill or even visited the town. On the outskirts of Silent Hill, Angela arrives at a cemetery looking for her father and brother. She instead accidentally startled an older man named James Sunderland, who's lost on his way to Silent Hill. Though timid and anxious, Angela helps navigate him towards the path into it, but then afterwards suddenly warns him that there is something wrong about the area and that he should stay away for his own good. She attempts and struggles to explain the dangers about the town, and when she feels James is dismissing her claims and leaving, she hysterically reaffirms that she isn't lying to him. This alarms James, giving him an indication that she is clearly distressed and troubled. Through a brief conversation, Angela tells James that she is also looking for her mama, immediately retracting and saying, "I mean my mother." She's also searching for her father and brother as well, but is also unable to find them. James gives her a similar account but is vague about it, not wanting to reveal too much of his personal dilemma. Angela apologizes herself, not wanting to bother him with her personal problems. But a sympathetic James is understanding and bids her good luck before leaving. A little after this encounter, Angela enters Silent Hill on her own, despite just warning someone else about the dangers of the town. Throughout navigating the town, she finds Blue Creek Apartments. She lies on the floor of room 109, motionlessly, stabbing the floor with her blood-stained knife, contemplating suicide beside an unusually large mirror in a dark room. Having given up on life, James tries to talk Angela out of suicide and tells her there is always another way, although she comments they both deserve to die. When James comments he's not like her, Angela asks James if he is afraid of death with a teasing tone in her voice, but she immediately apologizes. James and Angela change topics to Angela's mother. Through Angela's dialogue, it is heavily implied that her mother once lived in Silent Hill. When Angela learns that James' wife, Mary, is dead after he shows her Mary's photo, she appears uncomfortable and unnerved, and tells him that she's going to resume searching for her mother. James takes Angela's knife from her at her request, since if she kept it, she's not sure what she might do. At first, she jumps back and points it towards him as if defending herself, but then she clams down and apologizes. She flees in panic after he initially tries to take it out of her hand, likely due to her trauma and feeling unsafe around other men and strangers, as well as James saying he's searching for someone who's dead and trying to assure her he's not crazy. Examining the knife often is one of the factors which enables the in-water ending of the game, in which James kills himself. In the labyrinth area, a bloody newspaper article can be found stating that Thomas Orosco, a lumberjack, was stabbed to death in the neck with a knife, and that police have opened a murder investigation. James then hears Angela's voice scream, "No, Daddy, please don't," behind a room covered with newspapers, perhaps symbolic of Angela being forced to remember killing her father and possible worry of the media attention surrounding it. Inside, James finds her sitting in a state of catatonia on the floor, cowering away from a monstrous version of her father known as Abstract Daddy. Too frightened and terrified to move or stand up, on the flesh-lined walls of the room are cavities with metallic pistons making thrusting motions, akin to a penis thrusting in and out of a vagina or anus. These further evoke Angela's perspective of her being raped, a mechanical, emotionless, and inescapable experience. After James defeats the creature, Angela viciously kicks it and throws a TV on it, killing it. James tells Angela to relax, but she becomes irritated because it feels like an order. Although James tells Angela he was not trying to boss her around. Angela accuses him of only being nice to her in order to come after her sexually as an end goal. Angela, acting with disdain and general hatred towards James and all men, does not believe James and calls him a selfish, disgusting pig. Angela falls to the floor and sobs while drying heavily and becomes physically ill, while remembering her father raping her and beating her. James tries to console her by touching her shoulder, and Angela screams at him to back off and not touch her, saying he makes her sick. After James leaves her be to compose herself, Angela stands up and asks James if Mary is really dead. James replies that Mary died of her illness. Angela shouts "liar" at him, claims she knows about him and that he did not want Mary around anymore, and then accuses him of abandoning Mary for another woman before leaving the room with a sigh of disgust. Angela is last seen at a burning staircase in the Lakeview Hotel, vacantly standing between two skinned, blood-stained male corpses staged to a frame, symbolic of her dead father and brother. Initially, she confuses James for her mother and begins embracing him, but snaps out of her delusion and apologizes. Angela thanks James for saving her earlier, but tells him that she wishes he never did and instead left her to die. Angela tells James not to pity her and sarcastically asks him if he would love her, care for her, and take away her pain. James looks down and says nothing. Angela asks James to return her knife, but he declines. Angela asks James if he is saving it for himself, and he answers no. Angela turns around and ascends the staircase before she leaves. James says the room they are in is hot as hell. Angela replies, "You see it too. For me, it's always like this." Angela disappears past the flames, leaving to find another way to suicide, feeling that it is the only choice and option she has left, eventually killing herself off screen. The game's website describes Angela as shy to strangers, quiet and somber. It mentions that while she appears to be a regular teenage young woman, she is clearly different from others on how she deals and relates to death and sexuality. Her sense of values is eccentric, and she has a scent of danger, despite being in her late teens. Angela displays a childish lack of maturity, contrasting with her more adult-rated age, such as referring her parents as Mama and Daddy to other people. Having built a massive disdain for people and exhausted with living, she is asocial and introverted, often wanting to be alone, even in the face of grave danger. She is especially wary, defensive, and untrusting around men, James being no exception. She exhibits several common symptoms of severe long-term depression, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and social anxiety. After countless years of enduring heavy family domestic abuse, Angela has subsequently become a distraught and traumatized individual. She is also suicidal, and prior to coming to Silent Hill, has attempted it many times through various violent and painful methods, all to no avail. She compares her suicide attempts to buying a mountain of candy and forcing herself to devour it all, eating to spit it back out, and spitting it out to eat more. Angela describes it as an endless cycle of binging and purging which could go on for days. She often feels that everything is hopeless, pointless, and meaningless, having lost the will to live due to the constant abuse and mental trauma, and does not seem to care about or want anything in the world except death. It can be interpreted that her reasoning behind her desire to suicide is twofold, both as an escape from her suffering and as a punishment for her wrongdoings or mistakes. What she personally believes she did wrong is not stated, but it is most likely being a victim of abuse or the act of murder on her family members. Misanthropic, she is unable to trust people and believing them to be simply inherently superficial and or self-serving at heart, feeling no one in the world could ever empathize, let alone understand her pain and suffering, fueling her paranoid suspicions and mistrust of them and desires of isolation and suicide within her own self. To Angela nowadays, life feels more like something to be coped with instead of enjoyed, and she spends most of each day massively anxious and constantly in fear of nightfall, where the abuse occurs privately in her home, something she helplessly cannot control or even stop. She sought medical help for her psychological troubles before, but the results were discouraging and unsuccessful. It is highly suggested that she has no one to talk to and nowhere to go. Angela grew up in an horrifically dysfunctional family ever since early childhood. Her father as well her brother repeatedly abused and sexually assaulted her. In addition, Thomas beat her physically as well. Her mother was also apparently complicit, telling Angela she deserved it. It is also revealed that she was also often sexually harassed at her dead-end waitressing job by sleazy male patrons, groping and objectifying her. Over time, she began to harbor intense feelings of resentment towards her family. While it may initially seem she seeks out her mother for in an attempt of solace and comfort, Angela is both resentful and angry towards her for leaving her behind, and may be searching for her to simply kill her. After murdering both her father and brother with the same bloody knife, Angela takes it with her as if it was sentimental value to her along to Silent Hill. She is ultimately suspicious and distrusting of James, her first impulse after being rescued from an enemy to lash out, and even accusing him of sexually ulterior motives. She also callously taunts and mocks his situation without much remorse, blatantly calling James a liar and accusing him of infidelity, although she does later thank him for saving her earlier. Deep down inside, Angela feels she is a hideous, disgusting shell of her former self and dislikes looking into mirrors because they act as a reminder for her. She describes her reflection as an ugly thing that doesn't look like her anymore. This may imply that she also has body dysmorphic disorder, a common issue among real-life sexual abuse victims. Knowing she has her father's DNA and genes in her only amplifies her negative feelings towards her own body. No matter how far she gets away from him, a part of him will always remain in her until the day she dies. If the family photo is her family, then it is evidence Angela resembles her father, as the man in brunette and the woman is blonde. Despite attending school and even working a retired job, Angela struggles immensely to interact with others socially. James notes in the novelization that she has a severe social phobia and has had bad experiences in the past with men. James may be the first person she meets since fleeing her family home to Silent Hill, and upon meeting him for the first time, She comes off shy and timid, speaking with a nervous stammer and lack of confidence, experiencing difficulty asserting herself. When James doesn't seem to believe Angela when she warns him that Silent Hill is a dangerous town, she yells, "I am not lying." However, upon her next encounter with James, her mood and energy completely change into something more depressed and volatile, even showing an irrational hostility towards James at one point out of a misunderstanding on her part. She displays no remorse over murdering her abusers and rationalizes her actions similar to Eddie. By the time she reaches Lakeview Hotel, she seems to fantasize both her father and brother helplessly burning without mercy and admires a painting made of male human corpses with blood-stained crotches, with holes where their genitals should be. When James runs into her, the novelization implies these are symbolic of Angela's father and brother and could be interpreted as her contempt towards them. Instead of pictures, however, the novel replaces them with two actual male bodies, bound, castrated, and constantly burning to the painful flames of the room, their skin never searing physically. By the point of the story, she has completely given in to her suicidal ideations, her delusions having gotten to the point she mistakes James for her mother, with a final departing to find her own grave. The sad truth is that the story of Angela is a reality for a lot of women in this world. A lot of sexual abuse and rape survivors end up hating themselves despite being innocent. To them, life feels hopeless and meaningless because of the ways in which they are treated by the society. So I just can't stop appreciating Silent Hill 2's devs for showing something like this in one of their games. Showing harsh truths about being a woman in this world is a huge step towards making gaming community a more safer place for women, and to encourage more women to get into gaming. And not just this, Silent Hill 2 Remake is a game which has sent a positive message in the society because of the reasons which I explained earlier. Also, if you watch a lot of women gaming YouTubers, then you must have definitely watched Marz too, about whom I made a video on an year ago, in which I spoke against the constant online harassment which she has to face, and fortunately, it is the most popular video of my channel. But even after all the creepy behavior which she faces on the internet, she still doesn't hesitate to speak her mind, which is really badass if you ask me. And she even spoke up about this matter when she was playing Silent Hill 2 Remake on Twitch.
I don't have a single woman friend that has not been taken advantage of by a dude. And the fact that we live in a world like that is fucked. That was very, very sad. And then you throw that in with Angela was just a little girl and she had her own little like closet that she would try to go and hide in to get away from him. Oh god. Whole section, the way it was designed was very symbolic. I wonder, so the skin on the walls were all like stitched together like broken pieces, like they were just like ripped apart, and there's a lot of different meaning that could be, some which are very gruesome and disgusting, so I won't say, but also like could also be the sense of when you go through stuff like that, like severe trauma like that, especially when it's SA, you don't feel comfortable in your own skin. It's almost like they take that away from you. So that could also be some symbolism there. Ooh, really fucked. Very sad. There's a lot of weird symbolism in this game that's dark.
So a huge thanks to her for having the guts to speak about this issue, because you know, every voice matters when it comes to women's safety. Alright, this is it for this video, and this was my last video of 2024, and I will see you all in 2025 with a lot of amazing content. So happy new year and take care and bye bye.